I said no because of the snakes that are inside the terracotta pipe underneath that cement
Oh, this
wall.
is the snake tunnel you were talking about.
Big enough that you can crawl through if you want to handle getting bit by snakes.
So where do you get to that
You
tunnel
can do
at?
anything you want. It's right behind that wall.
Is it really?
Oh, the whole freaking route is interesting.
No, it is, but this whole section here was mysterious to me, because this was the three tunnels that weren't used by the turnpike. They're never turned over, and these things were just sitting out there, just hidden.
Yeah, the bad thing I don't like about that guy, he filled in without facts. I didn't like that kind of stuff.
Most of the bridge pillars can be seen in the Susquehanna River just south of City Island, but several have disappeared over the years.
Yeah, there was a total of 23, but there's only about 8 of them that are left.
So then Vanderbilt planned on going across those bridge piers over to the west shore and then cutting north?
That route was rejected.
Well, you were talking about these monuments on top of the tunnels. Are any of those monuments on the Blue Mountain?
Yes, there's one on top of Blue Mountain. The Shade Gap was still going to maintain a narrow gauge, therefore they would not have been able to move on to the South Penn's standard gauge. That's part of that bike trail. A lot of people walking it don't even know the railroad grade is there. In Laurel Hill, for instance, there were 9 Italians killed, all the tunnels. Rays Hill had their own deaths in it, too. You ever been up to the Kinzua Bridge up in, they were going to build something just like that west of Breezewood.
Really? Now this tunnel is used by, Chip
Ganassi.
Yeah, he's doing a wind tunnel testing there, I guess.
Because I even gave him a copy of my old book, and I think he used that to try to get hold of the turnpike to get me out of the area. He didn't want me there.
So today I'm talking to Russell Love. Russ is a historian and subject matter expert on the South Pennsylvania Railroad. Russ has researched and explored the abandoned South Penn for the past 30 years and wrote several books about the subject. I have been studying the South Penn for the last 3 years and have found that Russ's knowledge and understanding of the South Penn is the most comprehensive source available for this long-forgotten rail line that is still hidden in plain sight across Pennsylvania if you know where to look for it. Russ, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, so it's great to have you on here, and it's crazy that I've been talking to you over the years, through social media, and didn't realize it was you because you had different Facebook accounts out there. So I started researching this thing 3 years ago, and when I realized how much was involved with it, I thought I could just do a quick video in a week or something like that. But the more I dug into it, and it turns out the more photos I saw that were actually yours, and I had no idea, the more I knew this had to be researched much further, or find somebody who knows this. And fortunately, I stumbled upon, you.
Yeah, it's kind of a good thing because, like I said, there's so much of it out there. I never realized myself that it was going to take me actually 31 years to do this.
Yeah, 31 years. Well, I just want to give a brief overview of the South Penn so that everyone knows what we're talking about, because you hear there's so many railroads that were, in place in Pennsylvania that came and went, Broad Top, all that stuff. The South Penn is a little known railroad that came through here that had a huge impact on travel, being the turnpike later on. The South Pennsylvania Railroad can trace its roots back to the charters in 1838, but it wasn't until the owner of the New York Central Railway, William Vanderbilt, decided to get involved with a rail war against the Pennsylvania Railroad in 1881 that his rail line started to be constructed from Harrisburg to the western Alleghenies. Vanderbilt discovered that the Pennsylvania Railroad was constructing a rail line in New York, and this railroad was his answer to that. Vanderbilt would construct bridge pillars across the Susquehanna River and 9 tunnels through the Allegheny Mountains. This construction went on for 4 years until a deal was reached in 1885 for construction to cease on both rail lines. Most of the South Penn grades, tunnels, and culverts just sat there being reclaimed by the land for the next 45 years until in 1937 this grade and right-of-way was sold to the newly created Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission. 6 of the 9 tunnels were used by the Turnpike. The other 3 tunnels just sat there abandoned and hidden along the Pennsylvania countryside. Russ has been in all 3 of these tunnels, and we will be visiting them again next week. Most of the bridge pillars can be seen in the Susquehanna River just south of City Island, but several have disappeared over the years.
Yeah, there was a total of 23, but there's only about 8 of them that are left.
Jeez, is that what it is?
Yeah.
So, I know we don't know 100% where those pillars went, so that's definitely some mysteries. And there's several mysteries to this rail line that I think, that could be dug into further. So this is kind of the South Penn just keeps bringing up questions, for the most part, but I was surprised to see the level of detail and the level of puzzle pieces that I couldn't answer that you had solved. So let's just start with the beginning of this railroad, where it would have started in Harrisburg. So you sent me those fascinating photos, because that was the one thing I could not find, is where would the railroad have went? Where would it have linked up to the Reading, at Harrisburg for the whole start of this thing? And the fact that you found the actual offices for the South Penn Railroad in Harrisburg. So just to describe that real quick, those photos you sent me, I ended up doing a Facebook post. I think you saw that. The South Penn Railroad was above Maurice Eby's grocery store. I didn't even know he had a grocery store.
Yeah, so they did seem to always take a open place above any an existing establishment.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Same thing with Donegal. Same thing with Everett.
Oh.
They always, there was offices upstairs from an actual, say, like a store.
Interesting.
So that's what they did.
Maurice Eby was the mayor of Harrisburg from 1893 to 1896. So at that point, he was just running a grocery store. He wasn't even the mayor yet when the South Penn rented a room above his grocery store, which the building would have been just where the train station is at now. That whole block has been torn down. It's parking garages and other buildings. But unfortunately, that South Penn office no longer exists. Yeah, you can see the Pennsylvania Railroad tower of the original station. So take a look to the left about the 7-8, about more or less like the 8 o'clock to the 9 o'clock position of the picture. Yeah.
And you'll see the tower. And yes, it was a store there. I see that because it says. See, I didn't even study that well. I did, but because they're selling grass seed in there.
Oh, the right. Yeah, you know what? That's exactly how I found it, because I found an article saying that this grass seed will be sent to Maurice Eby's store at Fifth and Market. So it all matched up once I saw the seed being sold to the store.
It fits in all together. Everything just pops right into place.
So you sent another letter for an address that's right in line with where the pillars, where the railroad already came through there. Now, was that supposed to be offices, or were they just saying we're buying this place because we're going to cut through here eventually?
You talking about the 125 Washington?
I think that's the address. It's the one right on the riverfront there.
Yeah, that's the first one. Yeah, that one there I found a rent receipt. So they were renting the place. Huh. And the railroad would have been right behind it and sort of in the backyard. Because I was back there, I actually knocked on the door to the present owner. There's an individual, and I'm not sure if it's a family or what, but I know he did let me get into the house and everything.
Did he really? Wow.
Yeah. I'm not afraid to actually knock, on doors to get what I would like to get.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously that's the only way you're going to get the amount of information you got so far is pushing through it like that.
Right. The surveys took place between 1881 and 1883. The work actually started in almost every county, except for Westmoreland County. They actually did quite a bit of work there, which includes just to the west side of Donegal. The end of the work east side, minus the bridge in Harrisburg, was located just about a mile east of the Blue Mountain interchange, or Blue Mountain Tunnel.
So they were working. There was work crews all across this line working at the same time.
In that area I just mentioned.
Okay.
There was no work from the west side of Donegal all the way to Pittsburgh, and there was no work, like I said, minus the bridge piers, all the way to Harrisburg from about a mile east of the Blue Mountain Tunnel. The work they were working on was considered heavy work sites, and the areas that they weren't doing anything was considered light work.
Okay.
That was the definition of the whole thing.
But they could have been working on those pillars about the same time that they were working on the tunnels?
Yeah, that would qualify as in heavy work.
Oh, gotcha.
They had to get that bridge. They had to get that bridge up and running. They were actually in the stage of ordering the ties and the iron for the bridge, but
really?
That all fell through. 1885.
Jeez. So, Vanderbilt saw the Pennsylvania Railroad putting that line in up in New York.
The West Shore.
I'm just wondering how Vanderbilt actually obtained control of the charter for the South Penn that was, never really built, right? I don't think anything was ever built on the South Penn before 1881.
No. From what I've read, okay, and this is the way I'm going to put it, from what I've read, Vanderbilt did own the right-of-way, but never was going to do anything with it.
Okay.
His hand was played.
Yeah.
Okay. And because the Pennsylvania Railroad was moving into his territory, he came down here and started building using a charter that he did own, but he wasn't doing it. They were basically giving out right-of-ways to anybody and anything, hoping that something could be built. In this case, Vanderbilt did play this one, but it was not intentional. He really was going to leave it die.
Okay. So the original South Penn Railroad was supposed to, wasn't it? I think it was called the Duncannon and Landisburg.
Duncannon, yes, and Landisburg Railroad, yes.
So,
but it was a very small segment of it located a little bit north of Harrisburg,
exactly,
but on the West Shore.
That's what I can't figure out. So that was the South Penn Charter north of Harrisburg up in Duncannon. Did Vanderbilt's railroad plan on going that direction?
Yes, they were authorized to go anywhere and everywhere. That's why I have one of the maps that actually starts at Marysville, which is west shore of the Susquehanna River.
So then Vanderbilt planned on going across those bridge piers over to the West Shore and then cutting north?
Well, that route was rejected, but he was going to build his own railroad bridge. But on the East Shore, directly across, is where I think the Lebanon Valley Railroad was coming through there.
Oh.
And
okay.
he was a big investor in the Lebanon Valley Railroad.
Oh.
So he was going to use their line to get into Harrisburg. But his real intention was not to stay there. He was going to build a whole railroad yards and station on the West Shore.
Okay. So
so people wanting to take the South Penn to go west would have to cross the river on their own and then get to the Pennsylvania or the South Pennsylvania Railroad Station at Lemoyne.
Right. So he didn't. Vanderbilt did not plan on cutting north to Duncannon then.
No. That route, that particular survey got dropped.
Okay.
However, I studied it well enough to know that over near Fort Littleton.
Oh yeah.
How that survey was going to join up just south of Fort Littleton on 522. And merge onto the main line that they did choose.
I see.
So hypothetically, if they would have completed even the route they rejected, I definitely know where they would have met. And it's interesting to study that too. Like anything with the South Penn is probabilities or possibilities. That could have happened.
Yeah.
Had they expanded and progressed further than But otherwise, that northern route from Marysville west to Route 522 was rejected.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I kept trying to figure out where it would have curved north at that point. I mean, the tracks do currently go there, whatever line that was back then.
Which would have led them to that 1830s area.
Okay. Yeah.
Landisburg. Yeah, the Landisburg. Yeah, they would have gone through there with that. But that whole route was rejected.
Okay.
But it's really nice to know what was going on through their mind.
Yeah, exactly. That answers a huge mystery for me because I didn't get where it went from there. So they plan on just to keep going straight. If you look at the pillars in the river when they cross over there, it's kind of like, whatever railroad bridge that is now. Oh, it's the Philadelphia and Reading Railroad Bridge. Are you
talking about the one right there where the South Penn piers are?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the Philadelphia and Reading.
So I wonder if...
Or for short, the Reading Railroad. And South Penn actually did pull right alongside the South Penn piers there.
Yeah, so I wonder, would the South Penn have used that rail line, or was that even there then?
No, because the Philadelphia and Reading turned south once they got on the West Shore, turned south and went toward Gettysburg in that area.
Okay. So
where
they never
South Penn would have continued to cross and kept going through pretty much Simpson Street, followed that all the way through to Mechanicsburg, and then worked their way west to Carlisle, eventually to Newville, and then start heading up into the tunnels. Yeah, it's mind-boggling because sometimes, unless you really get into it, now this is all in my head. I don't even need, what I have on my laptop.
Right.
It's all in my head. I could, if we were out in the woods and everything, I'd know exactly what I would. I would only pull out the laptop just to back up what I was saying.
So, do you think anything was built between Harrisburg and Newville? You think there's any remnants of this railroad?
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing other than the bridge piers over there near the ball field on the west shore.
Wow. Okay. So there's nothing in between. That's the other thing. I'm just like, is there something along that turnpike between Harrisburg and, Newville?
Nope. Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing.
So they didn't
As
do
a matter
any
of
work.
fact, the turnpike's not even with it. To give you an idea, once the railroad made it into the ballpark west of the river, they weren't going to touch the turnpike until just west of Mechanicsburg.
Okay.
And that's going to be a crossover, like basically your Pennsylvania, or not Pennsylvania, but your railroad crossing insignia sign.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
Okay.
The Pennsylvania Turnpike would have came up on the bottom right of that X and gone up to the top left, where the South Penn would have gone from I'm pushing it from the top right to the bottom left.
Yeah.
And they don't touch each other whatsoever until they don't touch the turnpike at all. That's the only time they touch is west of Mechanicsburg.
Oh, okay. All right.
And then from there they go through the north edge of Carlisle. So yes, they would still cross, but it would be just at the golf where you play golf at the Carlisle Barracks.
Oh, right. Okay.
And then from that point all the way west, they don't touch the turnpike or the railroad at all until they get to just west of Newville.
Okay.
So the South Penn could be on their own right away all the ways across the thing. They stay north within eyesight of the Pennsylvania Railroad.
Okay.
But we were talking about the turnpike.
Right, yeah.
And the only I don't know if you've ever been on Turnpike going west. There's a big junkyard.
Like heading west?
Yes, and it's north of Newville. There's a big junkyard there.
I have seen that off the side of
They would have gone right through that junkyard to cross over to get to the north, and from that point on, they never touched the turnpike again until they reached the east side of the Blue Mountain interchange or turnpike tunnels.
I see. Okay. So,
as a matter of fact, the Blue Mountain interchange itself, the railroad would be up there at the base of the mountain. I'm going to say an eighth of a mile inside the woods.
All right, so they go through.
Yeah, the westbound lanes of the Blue Mountain tunnel was the original railroad converted into turnpike.
Okay, it was the westbound lanes. Okay.
And then, thus the Kittatinny would have been the same thing because it would be right the very next one coming up. Right. With a 600-foot open valley that they would have crossed over. So yeah, it would be the westbound lanes of the Blue Mountain and the Kittatinny were the railroad. Okay.
So coming out of there, did it kind of follow the turnpike until it reaches Tuscarora Mountain?
No. West of the Blue Mountain, I'm going to say about a mile. Turnpike stays closer into the valley while the railroad remained on the higher ground. If you look at any map or any photo, you'll see that as you come out of the tunnel, the turnpike westbound lanes are at a lower elevation from the eastbound lanes.
Oh, okay.
And that's because the turnpike westbound lanes is the railroad grade.
Interesting.
For about a mile, at which point they cross over the eastbound lanes and head into their own little cut that you would never know unless you studied like I did. Yeah. They would empty on the shoulder and into the woods, which is a driveway that used to be the railroad grade.
Okay.
Because underneath that driveway, you can actually see a culvert. Once you come out of the Kittatinny Tunnel, the railroad stays in the westbound lanes west of the Kittatinny Tunnel.
Okay.
It's overgrown, but you can still make out the cut of the railroad breaking off to the south of the eastbound lanes of the Turnpike.
Oh, okay.
At which point, if you followed onto that, it becomes a driveway.
Okay.
And further to the west of that driveway, there's actually a culvert. And you can look to the right, no more than, I'm going to say 50 feet. The turnpike is right there.
Okay.
So within 50 feet of the railroad grade, the turnpike is well within visual view of the railroad grade, and there's a culvert underneath of that. The Route 641 shoots up to the left over top of a hill, but the railroad would come to an end right there, and it's a huge, it could almost be big enough if you really wanted to make it into 3 lanes of railroad track right there.
Oh,
but it comes to an end right there. From there, it's totally open. You would never, unless you had the maps, you wouldn't know exactly where it was supposed to go.
Okay.
For almost 8.5 miles before it reaches about a mile before the east side of the Tuscarora Tunnel.
Okay. So the only remnants in between that section there are that culvert, you think, at this point? There's only one culvert. But there are other indications of what the railroad had there. For instance, the slag dump right outside the west portal of the Kittatinny Tunnel. The slag dump at the base, the north side of the turnpike, I've located some of the stone cuts, or the stones that were cut out to possibly be used either inside or at the facade of the tunnel. Oh, wow. So is that north of that?
Yeah. Now, if you came out of the tunnel, okay, and pulled over to the side of the road, you'll see a creek. There's a bridge that crosses over the turnpike.
Right. Yeah, I'm looking at that.
Well, down over the hill where the road starts turning to the left, which is Route 641. It's called Truck Route 641.
Uh-huh.
The slag dump would be where that curve is, after it crosses the turnpike. The slag dump is right down over the hill as you're traveling north on Truck 641.
Oh, wow.
And the actual slag dump, I would say, I think their intention was to use those stones at the base of to hold the slag in, so it just wouldn't go everywhere. But the creek definitely goes through part of that slag dump, and the stones, I'm going to say, as big as, how would I explain it? You take it, I'm looking at a dresser stand, the nightstand next to me, it would be about that size.
Okay, wow. So going into Tuscarora Mountain at that point,
there's about 3 culverts to the east of the Tuscarora, including a slag dump.
Okay.
The railroad grade is also found there leading up to the slag dump.
Well, you were talking about these monuments on top of the tunnels. Are any of those monuments on the Blue Mountain?
Yes, there's one on top of Blue Mountain.
Okay. All right, so there's definitely one on the Blue Mountain up there. That was pretty cool. I didn't even know that existed. Now explain that. What was that thing for? I mean, it's a huge tower. To me, it looks like it might have been a bridge pier or something.
No, not that particular one. No, not the one on top of Blue Mountain. It's not very tall.
Okay.
You can almost step right on it, like stepping onto like when you walk into a house, you step on a stool.
So what was
get into the house?
Was that to put some type of surveying instrument on a flat surface? Is that what that was for?
Yes, so they could. They would put their survey equipment on there so they could do both sides of the approaches to both sides of the tunnel.
I see.
Or the mountain itself.
So how'd you get up there? Is there a trail to the top of Kittatinny and Blue Mountain?
Well, yeah, because the openings were. I mean, the tree cut line was open. Plus, there are crisscross trails going across.
Okay.
As for the Kittatinny. No, you had to walk straight up. And I'm going to tell you something. When you get near the top, that mountain it doesn't look like it, but it is so steep that gravity takes a toll on you.
Yeah.
When you get near the top, gravity wants to, if you're trying to stand straight up like you're walking up a set of steps.
Yeah.
No. When you get near the top of the steps, so to speak, in this case it's the mountain, gravity wants to pull you backwards.
Yeah, I mean, Blue Mountain's, no joke. All those mountains out there are really steep. It's remarkable that they tunneled through these things like that.
Yeah, well, for me, when I got up there to the very top, I had to get down almost on my knees to climb over rocks to get to the very top.
Is that right? Jeez.
Because my body weight would have pulled me backwards, and I would have rolled backwards down the mountain.
Yeah. Yeah.
It felt like that.
Yeah.
I'll never do it again.
I definitely want to see at least one of those monuments here at some point in my life. But
the best way to get to see them is be the Laurel Hill Tunnel.
Okay.
Because you could drive right up to those.
Oh, great. Okay. So the Tuscarora Mountain Tunnel's next. So do we know whether that was the west or the eastbound lane?
The eastbound lane was the railroad tunnel. And so when they built the second tunnel, they built the westbound tunnel.
Okay. So it comes out of Tuscarora Mountain Tunnel and burnt cabins. I mean, so along this rail line, was there any proposed stations? You know, like I'm assuming maybe Carlisle.
Oh, I don't know about Carlisle. That information wasn't there. As for burnt cabins, well, that would have been approximately a 40 to 100 foot high viaduct crossing the campground.
Really?
That's there. And the turnpike would not be on it. The railroad grade would be its own entity or right of way just to the north of the present turnpike there. But to the west, it would have crossed over the turnpike because the railroad grade would have been south of the turnpike running parallel all the ways up to what's called Route 522 west of Burnt Cabins. Because at that point, 522, it's called Summit Road. The railroad grade is part of 522 there.
Okay.
And that's where the railroad picks up again.
So 522 through Burnt Cabins there, that would have been the South Penn?
Yeah, but there was no work done through the Burnt Cabins campground area. There was no work, but I know exactly where they would have built it because I do have the maps and I was able to put them over top the aerial photos.
I see.
And you could see the Burnt Cabins campground there, the open ground that's there. Now, let's move back over to the east.
Yeah.
To the west side of the Tuscarora Tunnel.
Yeah.
The railroad grade, there's not much of it there, and you can actually stand on a slag dump, look over the hill to the base of the slag dump and see the railroad grade there, which includes just one culvert.
Oh, is that right? So there is a grade and a culvert, and that's on the west side?
West side of the Tuscarora Tunnel. The slag dump was built on the south side of the railroad grade.
Interesting.
Basically, it's this way. At all the tunnels, there was work done outside the tunnels. Once you start building tunnels, you had to have the slag coming out of the tunnels, dumped outside the tunnels. And so they were also working on the railroad grading outside as well.
So that grade is south?
South of the turnpike,
right,
yes.
Yeah, south of the turnpike, yeah. Okay. And you can actually see part of that grade now?
I've been on it, yes.
Oh, that's pretty
cool.
And
I photographed the culvert there.
Wow, okay.
What's really interesting about to the north of that, the Shade Gap Railroad was coming in from the north to merge with the
East Broad Top.
Yeah, the East Broad Top. In that case, it was Shade Gap, that section.
Wow. So, yeah, man, I almost passed over this because this was another huge section that I was trying to figure out. I did a video on Neelyton, and that was another section I was trying to figure out is where that connected at. So you're saying the Shade Gap came in right on that side of the Tuscarora Mountain Tunnel?
Right. From what I understand.
Yeah, right there, Shade Gap and Neelyton. Okay.
Yeah, and they were going to merge right there and pull alongside each other. The Shade Gap was still going to, from what I understand, maintain a narrow gauge. Therefore, they would not have been able to move on to the South Penn's standard gauge.
So they would have
had to been alongside each other and dump their stuff from the Shade Gap's narrow gauge into the South Penn's standard gauge.
So that wasn't any place for passenger rail at that point, I guess? Yeah,
there was, and I do have one map that says a station would have been right there at the split.
Do we know where that would have been?
Yeah, right outside the west portal.
Jeez, really?
Yeah.
That is fascinating.
And now the east side, if we can go back to the east side of the Tuscarora,
yeah,
the South Penn coming in from Harrisburg would have there would have been a 3-point or a Y.
Yeah.
The line would have came in reaching the Tuscarora Tunnel, but they also would have turned off to go south to go to Hagerstown, and coming out of Hagerstown would have gone into the tunnel. So it would have been a 3, like a Y,
Oh, is that right? Really?
Three section.
Okay.
Yes.
So was that railroad there then, and it's not there now, or was it never built?
No, no. The South Penn was going to build that.
Oh,
however,
okay.
they did start building. In other words, coming from Harrisburg, as they were turning to go into the tunnel.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and it's still there today. A dirt mound, sort of like a dirt trestle, that the South Penn would have crossed over the very tip of that dirt mound, slag coming out of the tunnel. They were controlling what they were doing with that slag.
Okay. Huh.
Whoever built this railroad had to make arrangements for the East Broad Tops coal. Was very sought after coal. Now, the way they normally traveled would bring that stuff from the East Broad Top fields north to hit the Pennsylvania Railroad.
Oh, okay.
And then where they would have had to cross over going east to cross over the Susquehanna, Pennsylvania Railroad bridge, which is that stone bridge.
Yeah, the Rockville Bridge.
And then come down through Harrisburg and bring their stuff south. Government said whatever railroad was going to be authorized to come into the southern tier of Pennsylvania, basically the South Penn, had to make arrangements to bring the line south to go to Hagerstown and then eventually hit Baltimore and Washington.
Interesting. Huh.
It was mandatory.
Wow.
So that's why the Tuscarora was going to be the busiest. Both sides of the tunnel was going to be the most busiest car handling. It was called the Harrisburg and Southwestern.
Okay.
That particular section.
Okay. I didn't know anything about that side.
And I do have several maps of that particular curve, including the dirt mound.
Wow. Yeah.
They drew it on. It was mandatory. They were going to have to build that.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. If you get a chance, post that up on my that group that I created on Facebook.
Yeah. I think I might do that as soon as we get off of this.
yeah, I'd be curious to see that. And the map showing that Y right there, that I had no idea.
Oh, positively, I have and it's in very, very good quality.
Yeah, that's great.
Including that stretch of dirt sticking out, and I do have it on top of the aerial photos.
Okay. So it was going to split off there, and it was going to go into the tunnel, come out, and it was going to link up with the East Broad Top Railroad, or the Shea Gap line at that point. And then it would continue on through Fort Littleton. Is there any other remnants along this way in Sideling Hill?
Oh, positively. From Route 522, west of Burnt Cabins, the railroad grade, there really isn't that many in the way of the maps, but the aerial photos clearly show the actual work, and the turnpike pretty much used it.
Oh, okay.
But from 522 till they reach Fort Littleton, the railroad grade is well south of the turnpike, including enough to but to have a mountain separating the turnpike from the actual railroad grade.
Oh, geez, is that right? Yeah, I see a little valley and a mountain there. That's interesting.
Yeah. And at which point at Fort Littleton, at 522, where it goes south to McConnellsburg, the railroad grade crosses just south of the turnpike right there. And then what it does is to the west of the Fort Littleton Bridge, where it crosses over the turnpike, 522, the railroad joins back onto the turnpike, which is actually the turnpike actually joins onto the railroad grade, because all that work was done all the way to just east of Houston town.
Okay. So this is one of the rare sections where the turnpike actually followed on top of the grade of the South
they're
Penn.
on it. They are on it.
Yeah.
That is one of the longest sections of the railroad grade. Of course, remember, the railroad grade wasn't completed, so I'm going to say under construction railroad grading until just east of Houston town.
Okay.
At which point, east of Houston town, the railroad grade shoots south and stays on its whole route by itself, including going through the Sideling Hill Tunnel. And a lot of people that walk that's part of that bike trail. A lot of people walk in and don't even know the railroad grade is there, and they don't go in there and look at it or know what they're looking at.
Yeah, so I saw that photo you posted of that. I've been there many times. I've never seen that railroad grade. And where's that at? Is it on that east side of the
west side of the Sideling Hill.
Oh, west side,
but
okay.
That long stretch with the snow on it is on the east side.
Okay. Yeah, I had no idea that grade was there until you showed it. That is crazy. I mean, this whole thing is just hidden right there in front of us.
Well, oddly enough, I didn't know it was there either, and I went down there with my son one time, and we sat right outside the east portal, sitting on the wall there, right outside the tunnels, like a wing arm of the turnpike tunnel.
Yeah.
And my son said to me, "Dad, is that what you're looking for across the road there?"
Yeah.
And sure enough, it was. You know,
Yeah, that's crazy. When you show how close it is to the the abandoned turnpike section, it's like, what the heck is it? It was right next to it.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. And just think of all that work it's still laying there. How do you just not bring it to light, as in write about it? And, and then to turn around and get all these documents that I got with it, letters, newspaper articles, everything related to this route. It's all there.
Well, so the Sideling Hill Tunnel, so this is kind of...
It's a mile and 3/10 long.
Yeah, so let me see.
It's the longest of all the tunnels.
Oh, it was longest, huh? The Sideling Hill Tunnel, I mean, there were 6 workers killed here, right? Is this one of the only tunnels that somebody was killed at?
Laurel Hill, for instance, there were 9 Italians killed. There were a bunch of tunnels took the lives of people no matter what. But all the tunnels. Rays Hill had their own deaths in it, too.
Well, actually, it looks like 9 were killed in the Sideling Hill. I guess, July 6th of 1885, just before they stopped working on this thing, I guess. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And then 16 days later, 6 more were killed.
Blue Mountain had several deaths also.
Yeah.
Yeah, that railroad. I mean, come on, we're dealing with over 208 miles. There were deaths in the tunnels as well as along the whole route.
Yeah.
I don't get too deep into that. I was trying to focus on the route,
right?
And what was there.
So the Sideling Hill Tunnel, that was bypassed for the turn.
Yeah, up over top of the mountain.
Yeah,
up and over top of the mountain.
So I guess because they didn't have to worry about flat grades at that point, they're just like, let's just bypass this thing and go around it.
Well, even back, let's see, from the the turnpike opened in 1940, so even 20 years they started having their problems. And on top of that, they wanted to get all the business they can get onto that turnpike, and trucks, let's face it. They wanted even, flammable stuff to go through the tunnels.
Yeah, because I think the Sideling Hill was the bottleneck at that point. Is that correct?
They all were. They all had 5-mile backups.
Okay.
But Sideling Hill, as a matter of fact, if you look at the one picture, I'll post it, and you need to study it. And I caught it. I said, oh my gosh. For them to bring a boat through, somebody bringing a boat through, they had to shut the traffic off, like on the east side, because a boat was coming in from the west.
Okay.
And that boat would have stuck out over top the lanes. So they had to bring him through. That boat, whoever was bringing that boat through, had to bring it through by itself.
I see. So between the Sideling Hill, then it then went into Rays Hill Tunnel, which is another one that the turnpike ended up bypassing. But
right.
So is there any remnants in between the Sideling Hill and the Rays Hill Tunnel of this line?
Oh my Lord, that's what I was trying to tell you about.
Yeah.
One of the biggest. I always look at some of that work like a bad tooth decay.
Uh-huh.
You know how a tooth falls apart, and yet it's still a dip in the middle where the decaying is still going on. That's what a big section of it looks like, just the west side of the Sideling Hill.
Okay. So that
it's a huge.
That railroad grade that you can see off to the side of the Sideling Hill.
The south of the turnpike.
Yeah, so does that continue on along that whole section there, or does it meet back up with the abandoned turnpike?
No, it stops, I'm going to say, about a mile west of the Sideling Hill Tunnel.
Okay.
If you pull up a map and you look and you see where Oregon Road comes down to meet the turnpike, just underneath that underpass, there's a creek there, that underpass. That's where the railroad grade stops south of the...
okay. Wow.
Okay. So, but we do have the maps that show from there all the way to the east side of the Rays Hill Tunnel. As a matter of fact, to the east of the Rays Hill, about a mile also, but the turnpike incorporated that into their turnpike route.
So is this the section where everybody, that the culvert you visited, and everybody on YouTube seems to go to this culvert from the South Penn? Is that in that section here?
Yes, that arch culvert.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that is there. And if you look at that, you need to study the creek bed because they even lined the creek bed with stone.
Yeah, I saw that. That is interesting.
So they really took care. And now the stonework for that culvert came from the west bank of that creek.
Okay.
And we actually it was some Boy Scouts that were up in that area. I never noticed it. They pointed it out to me. And that's where they got the stonework out of the hillside.
So that culvert was the section that we're talking about that you can see off the side of the Sideling Hill section. Is that the grade that culvert's on?
There's actually 3 culverts in that area from the tunnel all the way to that arch culvert. There's three culverts there.
Okay, but it is the grade that went alongside there over the culvert.
Well, it didn't go over. If you're talking about the arch one, they didn't go over it. They just compacted the dirt on top of the culvert.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Now the other ones are covered.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out where that's at on the map here. So that is off just south of this.
You're bringing to light to me of things you're curious about, and I'll post them on your page.
Yeah.
Being
Sounds
that
good.
What you're asking, I will give you the answer to that.
Yeah. Sounds good. So it then hit the Rays Hill Tunnel, came out of there. And what did it do? Go straight through Breezewood, or did it go south of Breezewood like the turnpike?
No, let's go back to the tunnel itself, the west side.
Yeah.
Okay. As they were leaving the tunnel, the turnpike always had a habit because of speed. The vehicles were just speeding. You know how fast they would go. Vehicles. The railroad was not meant to go very fast. So therefore, they wanted to hang on to the hillsides as much as possible. In this case, outside the Rays Hill Tunnel's west portal, the railroad grade actually breaks away from the turnpike and goes to the south, but all within eyesight of the turnpike.
Oh, okay.
So as you go outside, let's get back on the turnpike, so to speak.
Yeah.
As you're coming through the Rays Hill Tunnel, you're going to protrude out on the turnpike, and then it'll turn to the left.
Okay.
The railroad grading can still be seen just outside, within 1/8 of a mile of the Rays Hill Tunnel's west portal.
Oh, okay.
The railroad grade then reemerges onto another slight bend in the turnpike as the turnpike starts turning slightly, maybe even a degree, which is not very much.
Uh-huh.
The railroad comes right out onto the turnpike there, and from that point all the way to Route 30, the railroad is being used by the abandoned turnpike.
Okay.
If you were to study Route 30, there's a slight bend in the road down below the old Route 30 turnpike bridge.
Okay.
That bridge would have been the railroad grade as well, but there was no work. The railroad stopped short of a creek before it reached the Route 30 turnpike bridge.
Oh, okay. I see.
So from that point all the way till it reaches the west side of where you merge onto the turnpike to go west from Breezewood, there's no work done from there all the way to Route 30 there.
Okay.
But where you're merging onto the turnpike to go west from Breezewood interchange,
right,
the railroad grade is on the berm of the road. It's there, but
Okay.
no culvert other than a terracotta culvert.
Oh, gotcha. All right. Yeah,
But from there west, again, there's no work until about the 161-mile marker. Or, I'm sorry, 162-mile marker. I think Breezewood is a 161-mile post. So about a mile west of that area I was just mentioning, where you merge onto the turnpike, you're so busy looking to the left as you're merging that you're not going to see the railroad grade on the berm of the road.
Okay. So there's not another tunnel until what, the Negro Mountain Tunnel or the Mahoning?
Until it reaches the Allegheny Tunnel.
Okay.
But let's go back to that area at Breezewood.
Uh-huh.
The railroad grade could be found in different stages of construction, all the way from where you see, I don't know if you ever remember seeing the signs that says Town of Motels.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Well, from there all the way to Everett, there are different segments of the railroad grade that can be found north of the turnpike headed for Everett.
Oh, okay. It's north. All right.
Okay. So basically, according to what I plotted out using a topo maps, from Rays Hill Tunnel's west portal all the way to Everett is approximately 11 miles worth of railroad grading. It's still there today.
Wow. Okay.
But from Everett, that would be just east of the Earlston track field, all the way to New Baltimore. There's no work done whatsoever.
Oh, okay.
But I know, well, you obviously know that I know every foot of it, and I know where it was supposed to go.
Yeah, so I'm looking for New Baltimore now. Where is New Baltimore? Is it?
That's in Somerset County. So you all the way through Bedford, there's no work done other than at Everett.
Oh, okay. It's that far out, damn.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, so they didn't do anything through Bedford at all.
No, that would be, see, once they reach the bottom down there at Everett, they're on the flats, and the flats going through Bedford, through Everett, south side of Everett, all the way across. It's all flat areas, so to speak, or areas that they considered, there was heavy work and light work. That would be considered light work.
Okay.
Basically, if they could just put track on the ground, that's light work.
Gotcha. So
heavy work is where they were going to work on tunnels.
So what about bridges? I mean, did they plan any bridges in between that section?
There was going to be yes, there was between Everett. I think about 7 different bridges were going to be built.
Okay. Between
there and New
Baltimore.
Right.
Okay.
Now, let's go back a little bit, back to the Rays Hill Tunnel. There's a big valley called Brush Valley. You could probably pull that up on any map. There, you ever been up to the Kinzua Bridge up in...
Yep.
Okay. They were going to build something just like that west of Breezewood.
Really?
Yes, but a little bit smaller, not much.
I'm trying to see where that would be. So you said it was west of Breezewood.
Right. It's called Brush Creek. It's not too far west of Breezewood.
Yeah, I see it.
That's another one I'm going to post. You see Brush Creek there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that a valley or some type of a gorge?
Deep. It's deep.
Okay.
Yes. But the Kinzua one was even deeper, but not by very much.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
Okay.
I didn't know they were planning one of those things.
Yep. And there's some letters with the same drawings of that bridge pier, the ironwork and everything.
Jeez, really? I'd love to see that too. Yeah, I got to see that.
Yeah. Okay.
So it goes through Bedford. Next thing up is the Allegheny Mountain Tunnel. So
right. The work actually started west of New Baltimore.
Okay.
There's a church there, west of there, not too far, maybe an eighth of a mile west of New Baltimore, all the way up the south, almost like a pouch of a pelican's pouch.
Okay.
That's what they were actually working on, which comes out to about 8.5 miles of railroad grading. It's all still there in different stages of construction.
Oh, okay. So out of New Baltimore, straight into the Allegheny Tunnel. They didn't complete that tunnel. Is that correct?
Well, the turnpike didn't use it, and yes, no, they did not complete the tunnel.
Okay, so they were concerned about structural integrity. Like as they were building it, they realized this wasn't working out for them. They
did a check on it, and they felt that because the tunnel was open to the elements, the air mainly, it was drying out the dirt, which would be like the mortar. Okay, and that mortar, as it was drying out, then you had a lot of loose rock that could cave down on you.
Okay, so when they turned it over to the Turnpike Commission, in 1937, they ended up digging 2 other holes to the south of that tunnel.
To the south, right.
But that abandoned tunnel is still there, and you said it there. It's actually you were in that several times, right?
Yeah, I'm going to say twice.
Okay.
But I didn't have the flashlight power to go through, and I only stopped where you still maintain seeing the east portal.
Okay.
But the back end of it, there was a collapse that did happen, and you have to climb to the top of that slag that collapsed.
Oh yeah.
From that point west, inside the tunnel, you without decent, huge flashlight, you weren't getting past that dirt mound.
Okay.
So I never got. Now they have it closed off to where there's I think you've seen it, a green gate.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
And you said
it's a bat
habitat now.
Bats can fly right through those openings.
Okay.
Okay, now the west side is also available to get through, but I said no because of the snakes that are inside the terracotta pipe underneath that cement.
Oh, this
wall.
is the snake tunnel you were talking about.
Right.
So what do you mean the west side you can get into it?
Well, there's a terracotta pipe that's big enough that you can crawl through if you want to handle getting bit by snakes.
So where do you get to that
You
tunnel
can do
at?
anything you want. It's right behind that wall.
Is it really?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I posted on your page. You'll see some pictures of the west side.
Yeah, and you
Okay.
put a drawing over there showing
And that's exactly where the railroad tunnel is.
But how do you get back there?
What do you mean? How do you get back
I mean,
there?
where's the terracotta pipe come out at?
It's at the very bottom on the ground.
Oh, on the outer wall there.
Yes.
So this tunnel was almost
Because
completed
that terracotta
through.
pipe allows water. The water that might get behind that wall was allowed to come through that terracotta pipe, even though it's all busted up.
Wow.
It allows the water to come through that terracotta pipe, but also that terracotta pipe puts you back in there. I was given permission by the turnpike to be able to crawl through there.
Jeez, really?
But when I went there, the snake was there. I said, forget it.
What snake did you see?
I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
I'm not stupid.
What was it?
It looks like it was a timber rattlesnake.
Timber rattler. Yeah, they're all over up there. Jeez.
But there was only one, and he was determined to get back to that opening. So,
Yeah.
I was pushing him outside. No, well, I just said forget about it.
Yeah, right, exactly. Wow. I didn't realize it went that
Now,
far through the mountains. That thing was almost completed then.
The profile shows, remember those things I had with the color photo on? That shows you. So they had about over 1,000 feet to go yet.
Okay.
That's quite a bit. But considering that tunnel is 52, well, it's more than a mile, and the mile is 5,280 feet. So I did remember that in my head that a mile is 5,280 feet. Sideling Hill is more than that by 0.3 of a mile.
Okay.
It's outside the west portal of the Allegheny Tunnel.
Yeah.
You'll find a ridge that's sort of sloping down from the north, slopes down to the south.
Right.
Okay? The railroad thought about going straight across where the turnpike is, but instead they said, no, we might as well use the level ground west to go south around that, that ridge, and it's called Kimmel's Ridge.
Okay.
Okay, so they were going to do like a ladle, or like a tablespoon, the tunnel being the handle, and instead of going straight across the very top of it, reaching from one high point at the tunnel to the high point on the other end of the spoon, they decided to go into the spoon to come back out the other side.
Okay.
By going south.
South of the current turnpike?
Yeah, they would have crossed the current turnpike at a bridge called, I think it's called Turnpike Bridge. Okay. And that's west of the Kimmel's Ridge.
Okay.
This way they would have stayed on level ground.
I see. So,
at which point, if you follow any map leading up to Stony Creek, which is north of the turnpike, they would have crossed there at just slightly to the north of Tunnel Bridge. It's a straight shot all the way to pretty much Stony Creek. So they would have created like a roller coaster effect. One going up, that's where they hit Stony Creek. Then they started back down toward the turnpike. That's one dip. Then the under part going back up, just east of Negro Mountain, they would have been to the north quite a distance and then turn around and start going back down toward the turnpike, where they would have gone into the east portal of the Negro Mountain Tunnel.
So, I just don't understand the need for the Negro Mountain Tunnel.
That's what the turnpike said.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I see that. They easily bypassed that.
But the railroad didn't want to do the digging in that area.
Yeah.
As in cutting, like doing a cut. They opted to do a tunnel.
Yeah, I just always wondered that, because it's just a small mound, basically, that, the turnpike cut out to get through that little hump.
Well, I don't know. You'd have to see it, and we will be doing that when I do take you there next week.
Yeah. So
this coming week.
Right. Yeah, so looking at I have, so there's at the Dominion Drive there, I guess the the
Yes.
entrance of that abandoned tunnel is like somewhere around there. Is that correct?
Actually, if you're going across Dominion Road, just after you cross the turnpike, the tunnel would be to the right, in this case, it would be the northbound lane.
Okay.
It would be to the right of it.
Okay. So looking at the map, is it east of Dominion Drive or west of Dominion?
The tunnel portal would be to the east of it.
Okay.
But down over the hill from it.
All right. I see. Oh, is this the hill you were talking about to get down to is pretty
Yes.
steep.
Yes, I'm not doing it.
Right. Yeah, so I mean, looking at this map, it looks like this was this is 2025 Google. It looks like there might be a little trail or something down to it or something.
Yes, you can get down to it, but in our case, we're going to do it from the top. I will get down to the first level area, and that's as far as I'm going. Then I could actually show you, and I'll say, look down in there, and that's what you're going to point to.
Yeah. I'm curious. So what about the west portal? Is there a west portal to this thing?
No. It's gone.
Oh.
But if you stood on that area there and look to the west, like you're looking towards Somerset,
Right.
Have pictures of where there's snow highlighting the approach leading to the tunnel.
Okay.
But you're never going to see the tunnel. It's gone.
I see. Yeah.
I'm not sure if the turnpike wiped it out. I don't think they did. I think who wiped it out was the coal mining that was dug in that area.
Oh, okay. Jeez.
Oh, the whole freaking route is interesting.
No, it is, but this whole section here was mysterious to me, man, because this was the three tunnels that weren't used by the turnpike. They're never turned over, and these things were just sitting out there, just hidden.
Well,
but they're right.
The other one the turnpike didn't use is to the west side of Somerset.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So we're continuing on past the Negro Mountain Tunnel. We're going
north of the Somerset rest area. The railroad grade goes up into the State Correctional Institute.
Okay.
It's starting to do a bypass to the north about 2 miles.
Okay.
It's going north, which includes another huge stonework, which is actually, a lot of people try to call it a tunnel, but it's not. It's actually a culvert, too, and it allows the South Penn to go over top the B&O Railroad, which is still active today. That's where the railroad goes right there. It's more or less favors the center right of the State Correctional Institute, and the railroad's going through there as it begins its way around to the north of Somerset. See, I even found a newspaper article that actually says that even though Somerset is the highest point along the whole turnpike route, and that's why they call it the rooftop of the Alleghenies,
right,
the railroad still would have been higher, putting the Somerset town of Somerset at a lower elevation from the railroad grade.
Oh, I see.
Remember, that lake is going to be at the lowest point.
Yeah. So Lake Somerset.
Right.
So
the railroad has to go up and around to the north and around that lake.
Oh, okay. All right. So it didn't follow the turnpike there at all. More, I guess,
Right.
closer to 219 going around there.
Right. As a matter of fact, it does cross 219. Okay. I don't know if you've ever been there, but there's a Walmart there north of Somerset.
Yeah.
They would have gone right to the south side of the Walmart.
Okay.
Crossing, because I guess, see, from that point at the turnpike, they're actually going north, okay, the railroad.
Right.
When they reach that area east of 219, of the Route 219, the railroad turns at a place called Zahnersville.
Okay.
Zahnersville is Mr. John Zahner. He's the one that lets me stay at his house whenever I'm in the area.
Oh, okay.
But the railroad turns at that point, crosses over 219, and now runs from east to west. While those two turnpike and that railroad are going to start meeting each other to the northwest of the turnpike.
So it then heads into that valley there.
As the railroad merges back onto the turnpike northwest of Somerset,
Yeah.
the Mahoning Tunnel, the railroad merges onto the turnpike. The mile after the railroad merges onto the turnpike, that's where the Mahoning Tunnel is located.
Okay, is there something like a landmark I can look or a road in that area?
It's right alongside the turnpike on the berm of the road.
Yeah, that's another
But
one.
it's gone now. The turnpike wiped it out
Right.
altogether.
I did see the video of that implosion or the daylighting of it. So I guess was this a similar situation to the Negro Mountain Tunnel where it was pretty much just like a hump there that they decided not to cut through and just...
Yes. It wasn't a very long tunnel, but it was the only tunnel of the South Penn that was used by another railroad.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay. I see it was Pittsburgh, Westmoreland, and Somerset used it.
Right.
And it was actually abandoned in 1916.
Right, and it only lasted for about 10 years. They finished the tunnel in 1906 and opened it up in 1906. They finished it in 1905, but they decided not to use it until 1906.
Okay.
And it lasted until 1916.
Okay.
But the Mahoning Tunnel, I'll show you where that's at, but it's not there, obviously.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's sad. We missed
But
that.
I'll show
But
you
you were in that, right?
No.
Oh, you were never in there?
No. Too much water.
Oh. Okay.
But the west side again, even though the tunnel was finished all the way through by the PWNS, the west side was caved in. Okay. I don't know if the turnpike did that or what, but the east side was open. I got pictures of it. So what I have is pretty much it, unless somebody else ever got a chance to go there.
Right.
I'm the only one. I'm going to say I'm the only one with pictures of it, including the stud or the wood that was holding up the tunnel.
Yeah, your photos are the only ones that I've ever seen showing that much of the tunnel. I saw a video, on YouTube, a guy, and maybe it was you. I don't know. Were you doing video back?
No, I never did any video.
Okay, and somebody else.
So it was a guy.
Yeah, years ago, a guy went down there. This is probably late 2000s. It's still on YouTube. I found it the other night, but he got out of the car.
Yeah, the bad thing I don't like about that guy, he filled in without facts. I didn't like that kind of stuff. Like I told you before, my stuff you could take it to the bank.
Right.
Yeah,
I didn't really
say something.
Yeah, the only thing I saw, he just did a video of him getting out of his car, pulling over on a turnpike and walking over and showing, like, look, we can see down inside the tunnel, and that was pretty much it. And he got back in the car and left. But but that's when I was
spent almost a half a day there because I know how when you're on the turnpike and you're going up over that little ridge, it's hard to see if you're trying to pull back out to go west, obviously, because it's north. So I got in there, got my pictures, and got the heck out of there and never would go back again.
Yeah, so that's what I was wondering. I remember when I saw that, I wondered if there was another way to approach it. And I've been on that section so many times on the turnpike, and I could never see where this place was. So I'm definitely curious to have you point it out to me.
There was a yellow sign there at the time as you're pulling up to it on going westbound. And when you hit that yellow sign almost directly behind it angled, you could see the concave of the hillside dugout.
Yeah, I could never pick it out. Every time going through there, I'm like, where the heck is this place?
All right, I'll post that picture too.
Yeah, great.
To show you what it looked like. Because my picture is going to be the only ones of it other than what he did with the movie that he did.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, I photographed in, and what he doesn't know, and as far as I know, is a lot of people don't know that that's not really the opening of the tunnel. The actual tunnel opening is out further behind you if you were looking straight into that opening that you would think would be the opening.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because there's at least four layers of brick underground behind you as you're looking into that part of the tunnel.
I see. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, did you see the daylighting video where PennDOT put charges in there and blew it up? It's on that the Facebook page, Stuff That's Gone.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see. It was kind of sad when I saw it. I'm like, oh no, there it is. It's gone. Because this just happened a couple of years back, and I mean, I just discovered this whole thing.
3 years. About 3 years.
Yeah, right after I even discovered that thing existed, they ended up imploding it. So that's sad.
Like I said, I was never really into saving stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just documenting what's there or was there. I'm not going to sit there and stand in front of a big,
right.
or sit on the box of dynamite.
Right.
That's never. Yeah, and the Turnpike knew that I was never going to do something like that, and that's the reason they gave me the permit.
Yeah.
I should post that permit on your page,
Oh,
too.
definitely. Please do. That's freaking awesome.
But anyway, then the Laurel Hill Tunnel. The Laurel Hill Tunnel is fascinating itself. I think I explained that to you. The east end actually would have 2 portals.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That was Laurel Hill. Yeah. That is interesting. So looking at it
But
now.
yet they came out the west end into through the actual railroad west portal.
And now this tunnel is used by, what is it, Chip?
Chip Ganassi.
Yeah. He's doing a wind tunnel testing there, I guess.
Right, and actually he expanded onto it, I guess, the galvanized garage that he expanded onto the tunnel. Now the west end, he ripped the very top of the tunnel apart.
Oh.
Where the ventilation part was, he got rid of that. And, one of these days, because I even gave him a copy of my old book.
Yeah.
And I think he used that to try to get hold of the Turnpike to get me out of the area. He didn't want me there.
Oh, really?
And they just literally said, he's not there to do you any harm whatsoever. And I didn't. You're not going to see anything there other than the front of the tunnel.
Yeah.
I'm not there to document what he did, what he's doing, and stuff like that. I don't care.
Right.
You leave my stuff alone, I'm going to leave you alone.
So what as far as size, is this one of the larger ones or?
The Laurel Hill is 4,000. Okay, so it's less than a mile.
Okay. All right, so it's not that big.
4,368. The railroad put down the length of theirs, and they are longer than a mile. Because remember I said a mile is 5280?
Yeah.
They're saying the length of their railroad tunnel is 5389.
For the Laurel Hill.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yet the Turnpike's document, which means that I think they're dealing with their length. Yeah, they went back 1,000 feet.
Oh, okay.
They're 4368.
Laurel Hill is where that giant monument's out on the top too. Is that right?
Yes, you need a ladder to get to the top of it.
Yeah, I mean it's the biggest one out of all of them, right?
With. Now the one at Blue Mountain is almost just no more than about 6 inches off the main dirt of the ground.
Yeah.
Allegheny Mountain, same thing. They have one that's basically flush with the ground.
Okay.
The Laurel Hill has 3 of them that are, I'm going to say, 5, 6, about 7 feet off the ground to the top of the cement part of the monument.
Okay. Yeah.
Ray's Hill, I don't know how they did this, but they had a round one, almost about the size of a dinner plate, and it's made out of concrete.
Okay.
Why would the railroad do that? I have no idea.
Yeah.
Negro Mountain didn't need one because there was a short tunnel. Mahoning is a short tunnel. They didn't need any stone work up there. As I said, the Allegheny. Sideling Hill, I believe there was more than 6 of those, but they all seem to be gone, okay, because of how elongated the mountain curve over top of the mountain was.
Okay.
Ray's Hill, like I said, just a round one. Kittatinny or Tuscarora, I didn't find any. The Kittatinny, I didn't find any, but the Blue Mountain had one.
Okay. So when was the meeting that J.P. Morgan put together on his boat? That was what, July? Yeah. July of 85?
July, yeah. But he still kept working until they finalized everything because as far as I know, no work stopped. Well, like I said, the Laurel Hill stopped in April.
Yeah. So they ended up making a deal after that meeting, right? And they just basically stopped everything. The South Penn was transferred to the Pennsylvania Railroad president, George Roberts. I guess that was the guy that he was working against.
Right, he was
Vanderbilt.
the president of the Pennsylvania Railroad. He's the one that didn't like the fact that the South Penn was being built in his own territory. He never expected that that this would have happened.
Yeah.
He started like a civil war. He started moving into Vanderbilt's New York Central Territory, not realizing that his backside was fully open to invasion.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, so that's the question. I mean, do you think Vanderbilt actually planned on completing this line?
No. He was looking for a way out of it. He knew that first off, he would have had to been using Reading railroads from northeast Pennsylvania and up in New York and New Jersey and whatever to get into Harrisburg.
Yeah.
by him going north, it was a shorter route for him to go up to Albany and then straight across to, Niagara Falls area, Buffalo, and then keep going west. He was already busy with that route. That route was already established. Remember, back in the 1880s, you still had cattle that were being driven to Illinois and Chicago.
Yeah.
For cattle to be shipped over and then either brought back over to the stuff over. I'd like to have found out where that was, where the cattle would have been grazing.
Yeah.
At the in New York area.
Right.
Maybe to be shipped overseas and stuff. But
yeah, I mean, it's just crazy that, so this meeting went down with Vanderbilt, J.P. Morgan, and Roberts in July of 1885. They made a deal.
Vanderbilt, when J.P. Morgan approached Vanderbilt, he told Vanderbilt, stay out of it. He says, I could see that you really don't want to finish this route. So stay out of it. I'll broker the deal.
Oh, okay.
So Vanderbilt stayed out of it.
Oh, okay. But he was present on the boat, though, right?
No.
Oh, he wasn't on J.P. Morgan's boat for that
He was
deal.
not on the boat.
Interesting.
No, Vanderbilt was already out of the picture. Only Roberts and J.P. Morgan.
Oh, geez.
And
okay.
Like I said, he already dropped it. He says, this is how it's going to be. Vanderbilt doesn't want to finish this route. I don't want him to finish it. Another railroad going from east to west is only going to bring down cost, as in, people can't, the Vanderbilts as well as Roberts watered down, because one person can go somewhere. Well, you're too high for me to ship stuff out west, so I'm going to go to your competitor.
Yeah.
It's like airports. Like you go to the airport, you have one American Airlines going to the same airport in, say, Chicago. What are you going to do? You're going to look to see which is going to be the cheapest to go across.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a crazy price war from what I read.
Exactly. It was a price war.
So the crazy thing is Vanderbilt ended up passing away 5 months later, right? The deal was brokered.
Not even that. I don't know about, 5 months, somewhere along there.
Yeah, December 8th, 1885. I guess he was working on a deal with the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad at a meeting.
He died. My birthday is December 7th. He died December 8th. Of course, we weren't around with each other.
Yeah, 64 years old. He suffered from a stroke during that meeting.
And I just turned 71.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But I'm like I said, I'm not in the best of health and everything. So
right.
But like I said, you make sure you bring it. I don't know if you get your camera, your cell phone, get it emptied out.
I'll have everything. I have multiple cameras that I use for my channel.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Russ, for tuning in for this and answering these questions, man, because this was a great deep dive into this railroad, and it answered most of the questions I had, and specific details along that route that are really fascinating, that are still sitting out there. So yeah, I can't wait till we get together here this weekend to explore this stuff.
Oh, you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. I could show you where the East Broad is moving closer to the tunnels.
I want to explore into that more, because like I said, I already did a video about Shade Gap, Neelyton, and East Broad Top, and I'd love to see that section in between there. So yeah, we definitely have to get
That's a very fascinating thing, how both ends of the tunnel at the Tuscarora Tunnel.
I know, right? I didn't know about that either. That's crazy. Thanks, Russ. I appreciate it, man.
All right, you take care.
All right, you too. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to see video versions of this podcast, check out my YouTube channel, Running Into History. And look me up on Facebook, where I'll be posting a deep dive into the information presented here. Stay tuned for more forgotten stories from our past.